So yesterday we saw two of Peter Mandelson's properties searched by police investigating claims of misconduct in public office. No arrests, we should say, were made. But how does it feel to see your former colleague in Labour and former US ambassador under this level of investigation?
Yeah, this is, I think the best word to describe him possibly is a traitor. His conduct and his behaviour and what's come out has been deeply disappointing, angering. I think the word I've used to describe how I feel is incandescent. That somebody would have had these types of communications with somebody like Epstein relating to the victims of trafficking, but also, and we've seen Gordon Brown also speak into this over recent days, that during a time when everybody in government was focused on rescuing the global economy, the fact that he saw that as an opportunity for some personal gain, for an opportunity to share confidential government information is just beyond words. Actually, it's hard to put it in terms of like how this makes anybody feel in the Labour Party.
Well, yes, and we haven't heard Peter Mandelson respond to those particular allegations as yet. But you say you're incandescent with anger about him. What about the man who appointed him, Keir Starmer? There are some of your colleagues on the back benches who are calling for him to go.
Look, those people, I think, are very small in number. We have in Keir Starmer a very good man who came into this job because he wanted to deliver change for our country. And I can't imagine anybody is more angry than Keir. And that certainly came across in what he said this week, but also his deep apology to the victims here, who far too often, I think, are being forgotten as we talk about this story. And, this week we should be talking about, I would love to be talking with you about the launch of the cancer plan, an ambition to see 3/4 of people surviving cancer after 5 years by 2030. And instead, we're talking about this. And I know Keir wants to talk about those good things we're doing to deliver change for the country.
Well, that's right. And we have covered those stories during this week as well. And you say you are frustrated. And you say that Keir Starmer has apologised. He apologised for believing Peter Mandelson's lies, hasn't he? But then you have senior Labour figures like Harriet Harman, former deputy leader, of course, telling Sky News that Keir Starmer should stop blaming Mandelson's lies because he shouldn't have considered him in the first place. As she says, saying he lied to me makes him look weak, naive and gullible. I mean, do you think she has a point there?
Look, I think what's important, and this is what I and everybody else will be looking very closely at, is the publication of the documents and the information surrounding the appointment. And, whilst that will be a significant task, and there is a lot of documents and one that won't be able to happen quite quickly enough, that is what we must take very careful view of.
Well, yes, we will. We will. Sorry to interrupt.
But I do trust what Keir has said, and that the information that he had available to him did not expose the depth of the issues with Mandelson. And I think the challenge as well, in terms of what people need in this country, they need stability, they need delivery, and not least on the markets. It would be incredibly problematic for a change in Prime Minister, a change in leader.
Well, he says he shouldn't have believed Peter Mandelson's lies in retrospect. Harriet Harman's calling him gullible. We may well find more in those documents when they are indeed released. But in the meantime, Gordon Brown, former Labour Prime Minister, of course, has said that he greatly regrets appointing Peter Mandelson back in 2008. But he's also called for the UK to adopt a US-style sort of confirmation hearings for the appointments of senior positions in government. Do you agree that that's the way forward?
I certainly will listen and take very seriously anything that Gordon Brown is bringing forward. But it was also highlighted when the initial issues with Mandelson came out, that there was an opportunity for that position to be at least considered by the select committee, and there was no opportunity for that process either. I do think serious lessons need to be learned in this so that it can't be repeated. But again, we just have to remember here that we have somebody who was, in the end, making a decision based on the information given to him, and doing what he believed was in the best interests of the country. And we've got to be careful with what we compare it to. And Mandelson, unfortunately, has brought upon all of us, particularly Labour Party politicians, but people across the House, actually, most of us, we come into this because we care deeply for our community. We want to see a change in our country, and we work hard to that end. And then you have this type of situation break, and you've got Mandelson now sitting in the same camp as someone like Liz Truss or Boris Johnson, people that were in it for their own gain. And it's how we actually create, I think, a political system where we want more of the leadership of the people that do genuinely want to put the country before their own interests. And actually, that is what I see in Keir Starmer. And I think I've yet to have somebody tell me that they actually don't believe that in his heart he's a man of public service and somebody who came in because he really wants to rebuild our country.
So it's Kamali here. Use the same way of describing Keir Starmer as Mike Tapp did yesterday, calling him a good man. Look, while we greatly appreciate you coming on this morning, it's very rare to have a Labour MP come on a Saturday morning. You're saying that because you're really angry, but it seems a little bit like the government might be quite panicked as to how much cut through this particular scandal is having and how much danger the Prime Minister may well be in.
Not at all, not panicked. I think, where I want us to keep coming back to, and other colleagues, particularly female colleagues, I think have been on this as well, is that we want to talk about the endemic of violence against women and girls, and that Epstein and this story completely, encompasses and highlights just the awful state that the world is in for women and girls. I was a woman, a young girl, a woman at university who had my drink spiked. Somebody attempted to rape me, fortunately not successful. And so it matters to me, actually, that we've got a Prime Minister that's made this agenda the priority and has brought in a specific offence about spiking amongst one of many things that he is driving forward. And I'm not here out of panic. I'm here because I do care deeply for our country and that we need leadership and we need stability.
Sarah, I mean, with the greatest of respects, the Prime Minister knew about this man's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein when he appointed him. He knew when those files were dropped and he kept him in his job. He only sacked him when the pressure became too much. So while centred in your mind and many people within the Labour Party's mind is that commitment to halve violence against women by the end of the Parliament, it would seem as if in the appointment of Mandelson, that protection of women wasn't there.
Look, this is where, again, just to say again, this is where the documents coming forward around that appointment, what information was available and what informed that decision is really, really important. And I have no doubt that Keir must be thinking like over and over again around what led to that decision, and who was encouraging that, et cetera. But again, it is. Do I think there is anyone else that would take that agenda seriously, that would have brought in that scale of ambition and that strategic approach across government to deliver change for the victims? Amongst one of, we could sit here and list 20, 30 different areas of serious change that Keir is committed to delivering, that wouldn't be happening without him as Prime Minister. Not least, not forgetting that everyone said it would be impossible for Labour to win the election in 2024 after 2029 result, and seeing what happened through that period as well.